Princess Zara sat in the cold metal cell, her royal robes torn and dirty. The sound of her captors echoed through the rebel stronghold. 3 days had passed since they attacked her diplomatic convoy. 3 days since everything went wrong. The Vorthak Empire ruled over dozens of star systems. Zara was the crown princess, meant to bring peace between warring factions. Instead, she became a prisoner of the Red Claw rebels. Their fortress hung in space above a dead moon, protected by energy shields that could stop any attack. "Your father's fleet waits outside our shields," said Commander Vex through the cell door. His voice was cold and sharp. "But they cannot reach you. Soon he will accept our terms." Zara knew the terms. The rebels wanted control of 3 mining worlds. They wanted her father to step down as emperor. They wanted things that would destroy the empire her family built over centuries. "My father will never surrender to terrorists," she replied. Vex laughed. "Then you will die here, princess. No one can break through our defenses. This fortress has never fallen." The rebel commander walked away. His footsteps faded into the distance. Zara pulled her knees to her chest. She tried not to think about her family. She tried not to wonder if this metal cell would be the last thing she ever saw. Hours passed. The fortress shook slightly. Zara heard distant explosions. Her heart jumped with hope. Perhaps her father's fleet had found a way through the shields. But then everything went quiet again. The attack stopped. The rebels must have driven off the rescue attempt. Zara closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow would bring more demands from Vex. More threats. More waiting. A soft sound made her open her eyes. Someone was moving in the corridor outside her cell. But the footsteps were different. Lighter. More careful. The lights in the hallway flickered and went out. Emergency lighting cast red shadows on the walls. Zara heard muffled sounds of struggle. Then silence. A figure appeared at her cell door. It was not a Vorthak rebel. This being was shorter, with pale skin and strange clothing. The creature wore black fabric that seemed to absorb light. Its face was covered by dark material, leaving only its eyes visible. "Princess Zara," the figure whispered. She had never heard this language before. The words were sharp and quick. But somehow her universal translator understood them. "Who are you?" she asked. The figure pulled a small device from its belt. Blue energy sparked from the tool. The cell door's lock melted away like ice. "My name is Ben," the creature said as it pulled the door open. "I am human. I am here to take you home." Human. Zara had heard rumors about this species. They came from a small world called Earth. The Galactic Council said they were dangerous. Unpredictable. Some called them insane. Looking at this Ben, Zara could see why. No sane being would try to infiltrate a Red Claw fortress alone. "How did you get past the shields?" she asked as Ben led her into the corridor. "Humans do not always use the front door," Ben replied. His voice carried a strange confidence. "Your father's fleet is attacking the main shield generators. While the rebels focus on that threat, I came in through the waste disposal system." Zara stared at him. "You crawled through garbage to reach me? I have done worse things for less important missions." They moved through the dark hallways. Ben seemed to know exactly where to go. He avoided the main corridors where rebels might patrol. Instead, he led Zara through service tunnels and maintenance areas. "How do you know the layout of this fortress?" she whispered. "I studied the plans for 2 days before coming here. Your father's intelligence network is very good." Ben paused at a junction and listened carefully. "Also, most military bases follow similar patterns. Beings think in predictable ways." They climbed through a ventilation shaft. Zara's royal training had never prepared her for crawling through metal tubes. But Ben moved like he was born for this work. You said beings think in predictable ways, she said as they crawled. Do humans think differently? Ben was quiet for a moment. Humans survived on a world that tried to destroy us every day. We learned to adapt. To find solutions when no solutions exist. Other species see a wall and think it cannot be crossed. Humans see a wall and wonder what is on the other side. They reached another junction. Ben opened a small panel and looked at the wires inside. He pulled out 2 cables and connected them in a new pattern. The lights in this section of the fortress went dark. The rebels will know someone is tampering with their systems, Zara warned. Yes. But they will think it is sabotage from your father's fleet. They will send teams to check the outer hull. This gives us more time to move. Zara began to understand. This human was not just sneaking through the fortress. He was manipulating the rebels' responses. Making them look in the wrong places. They dropped down into another corridor. This one led to the fortress's central area. Ben checked his small device again. It showed a map with moving dots. Patrol coming, he whispered. This way. They slipped into a storage room filled with weapons and supplies. Through the door's window, Zara watched 6 heavily armed rebels march past. They looked nervous and angry. The prisoner is gone, one of them shouted into his communicator. Search every deck. Find her. When the patrol passed, Ben led Zara deeper into the fortress. But now alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed throughout the corridors. They know I am missing, Zara said. Good. Angry enemies make more mistakes than calm ones. They reached a maintenance shaft that led to the fortress's docking bay. Ben climbed up first, then helped Zara follow. But when they emerged on the upper level, 3 rebels were waiting for them. Stop right there. Commander Vex stood with 2 guards, their weapons pointed at Ben and Zara. So this is the famous human we heard about. You are smaller than I expected. Ben raised his hands slowly. I am just one soldier. You have hundreds of warriors in this fortress. Vex smiled coldly. And now you will join the princess in a cell. Perhaps her father will trade more for 2 prisoners. Perhaps, Ben agreed. Then he did something that shocked everyone. He smiled. Vex hesitated. In his experience, captured enemies did not smile. They begged or threatened or tried to bargain. They did not look happy. What amuses you, human? Vex demanded. You think you caught me, Ben said calmly. But I have been leading you exactly where I wanted you to go. That is impossible. We tracked you through the fortress. We cornered you here. Ben's smile grew wider. You tracked the path I wanted you to track. You followed the route I prepared for you. And now you are standing in exactly the right place. Vex looked around nervously. The docking bay seemed normal. His guards kept their weapons trained on the human. Nothing appeared wrong. You are bluffing, Vex decided. Am I? Ben asked. He pulled a small device from his belt. It looked like a simple communicator. Computer, execute Program 7. Vex realized his mistake too late. The human had not been running from capture. He had been leading the rebels into a trap. The docking bay's artificial gravity shut off. Everyone began floating in the air. But Ben was ready for this. He pushed off from the wall and grabbed Zara's hand. The rebels, caught by surprise, spun helplessly in the zero gravity. Ben fired a grappling line across the bay to a small ship that waited near the exit. As they sailed through the air, Vex shouted orders at his floating guards. Shoot them. Do not let them escape. But the guards could not aim properly while spinning in zero gravity. Their shots went wild, hitting the walls and ceiling. Ben and Zara reached the ship. It was a small craft, built for speed rather than comfort. Ben pushed Zara inside and sealed the hatch behind them. "Strap yourself in," he said as he took the pilot's seat. "This will not be a smooth ride." The ship's engines roared to life. They shot out of the docking bay just as gravity returned to the fortress. Behind them, angry rebels ran to their own ships. "They will follow us," Zara said as she watched the fortress through the rear window. "Yes. But my ship is faster than theirs. And I know something they do not know." Ben piloted the ship through a field of asteroids near the dead moon. Rebel fighters followed, firing energy weapons that lit up the darkness. "What do you know that they do not?" Zara asked. Ben pointed ahead. In the distance, the powerful ships of the Vorthak Imperial fleet waited beyond the fortress's shield range. They had been watching and waiting. "Your father's fleet has been charging their weapons while we escaped." The rebels' attention was focused inside their fortress. They forgot to watch for external threats. As Ben spoke, the Imperial fleet opened fire. Massive energy beams struck the rebel fortress. The shields that had protected it for so long flickered and failed. "How did they know exactly when to attack?" Zara asked. Ben showed her his communicator device. "The same signal that shut off the gravity also told your father's fleet that you were safe." Everything was timed perfectly. Princess Zara watched the rebel fortress break apart under the Imperial fleet's attack. In less than an hour, she had gone from hopeless prisoner to rescued royalty. And it was all because of one human soldier who refused to accept that anything was impossible. As their small ship approached the Imperial fleet, Zara looked at Ben with new respect. She had heard that humans were dangerous and unpredictable. Now she understood that those qualities made them the most valuable allies in the galaxy. The rescue was complete. But Zara suspected this was just the beginning of something much larger. The small rescue ship docked with the Imperial fleet's flagship. Princess Zara felt relief wash over her as she stepped into the familiar corridors of her father's vessel. The royal guard stood at attention, their polished armor gleaming under the ship's lights. Emperor Thane waited in the main docking bay. His face showed the worry of 3 sleepless days. When he saw his daughter safe, his stern expression softened. "My daughter," he said, embracing her. "I feared we had lost you forever." "Father, I am well. But we must thank this human soldier. Ben saved my life." Emperor Thane turned to study the human. Ben had removed his face covering, revealing features unlike any species in the Empire. His skin was pale, his hair dark brown, and his eyes held an alertness that seemed to miss nothing. "You have the gratitude of the Vorthak Empire," Emperor Thane said formally. "Name your reward." Ben bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I require no reward. But I bring urgent news. The Red Claw Rebellion is larger than your intelligence reports suggest." Admiral Orcs, the fleet commander, stepped forward. "Impossible. We destroyed their main fortress. The rebellion is finished." Ben shook his head. "That fortress was only one base. My people have been monitoring rebel communications for weeks. They have at least 12 other strongholds scattered across this sector." Zara watched her father's expression change from relief to concern. "How many ships do they control?" "More than your fleet, your Majesty. They have been gathering forces from multiple systems. What you destroyed today was meant to be a distraction." Admiral Cork scoffed. "Even if that were true, the Imperial fleet has never lost a battle. Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy." "Advanced technology means nothing if you cannot predict your enemy's actions," Ben replied calmly. Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. A communications officer rushed into the docking bay. "Your Majesty! Multiple rebel fleets are jumping into the system. They are surrounding us from all directions." Emperor Thane and Admiral Corks hurried to the command center. Zara and Ben followed. The main display showed the tactical situation. Red dots representing enemy ships appeared around the Imperial fleet like a closing net. How did they get so close without being detected? Admiral Corks demanded. Ben studied the display. They used the asteroid field to mask their approach. While your sensors focused on the fortress, they moved into position. This is a classic human tactic called a pincer movement. Humans taught them this strategy. Emperor Thane asked. No, Your Majesty. But tactical thinking follows certain patterns across all species. The difference is how you respond to those patterns. Admiral Corks began issuing orders. All ships, form defensive formation. Prepare for standard engagement. Ben stepped forward. Admiral, with respect, standard tactics will not work here. The rebels have studied your previous battles. They know how the Imperial fleet fights. And I suppose you have a better idea? Admiral Corks's tone was skeptical. Yes. But it will require your fleet to do things that seem illogical. On the display, rebel ships moved closer. Their numbers were overwhelming. The Imperial fleet faced destruction unless something changed quickly. Emperor Thane made a decision that surprised everyone. Admiral Corks, you will follow this human's suggestions. Ben, what do you propose? Ben moved to the tactical display. First, we split the fleet into 3 groups. Send one group toward the enemy's left flank, another toward their right flank. That will divide our strength, Admiral Corks protested. Military doctrine says to concentrate firepower. Sometimes military doctrine is exactly what your enemy expects, Ben replied. The third group, including this flagship, will appear to retreat toward the system's edge. Retreat? Admiral Corks looked horrified. The Imperial fleet does not run from battle. You are not running. You are repositioning. The rebels expect you to fight a direct battle. When you split your forces, they will think you are making a desperate mistake. They will move to exploit what they see as weakness. Emperor Thane studied the tactical display. Continue, Ben. When the rebel fleets converge to attack what they think are weakened Imperial forces, they will expose their own flanks. That is when your flanking groups strike their command ships. Zara watched the conversation with growing fascination. Ben was not just suggesting tactics. He was predicting how the rebels would think and react. And the retreating group, she asked. Ben smiled. That group will not retreat for long. When the rebel fleet is fully committed to attacking the flanks, the retreat group will turn around and strike their rear formations. Admiral Corks shook his head. This plan requires perfect timing. If even one group moves too early or too late, we will be destroyed. Most plans require perfect timing, Ben said. The difference is that humans practice until perfect timing becomes natural. Emperor Thane looked at the approaching rebel fleet. Time was running short. Do it. Admiral, implement Ben's strategy. The next hour tested everyone's nerves. The Imperial fleet split into 3 groups as Ben suggested. To outside observers, it looked like panic. The rebels responded exactly as Ben predicted. Enemy fleets are accelerating toward our flanking forces, reported the communications officer. Phase 2, Ben said calmly. Flanking groups, begin evasive maneuvers. Make the rebels think you are trying to escape. Zara watched the battle unfold on the tactical display. It looked like chaos. Imperial ships scattered across the system while rebel forces pursued them. But slowly, she began to see the pattern. The rebels are spreading themselves too thin, she realized. Exactly, Ben confirmed. They think they are chasing defeated enemies. But look at their formation now. The rebel fleet had stretched into a long, thin line as they pursued the Imperial forces. Their command ships, trying to coordinate the chase, had moved away from their protective escorts. Phase 3, Ben announced. All flanking groups, target enemy command vessels. Flagship group, begin attack run on enemy rear. The battle transformed in minutes. What looked like an Imperial defeat became a coordinated assault. Rebel commanders, expecting to attack scattered enemies, found themselves under attack from multiple directions. Impossible, came a transmission from one rebel ship. How did they coordinate this maneuver? Ben listened to the confused enemy communications. They cannot understand how your ships moved so precisely without constant communication. Humans train their forces to think independently while working toward common goals. The rebel fleet began to collapse. Without their command ships, individual rebel captains made their own decisions. Some tried to retreat. Others attempted desperate attacks. None of them coordinated with their allies. Enemy fleet is breaking apart, Admiral Corks reported, his voice filled with amazement. Within 2 hours, the overwhelming rebel force was either destroyed or fleeing the system. The Imperial fleet had won a complete victory with minimal losses. Emperor Thane turned to Ben. Your strategies saved not just my daughter, but my entire fleet. Human strategies, Your Majesty. My people have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We learned that the mind is more powerful than any weapon. Admiral Corks approached Ben with new respect. Where did you learn to think like this? All human soldiers learn these principles. We call it asymmetric warfare. When facing a stronger enemy, you do not fight their strength. You find their weakness and exploit it. Zara had remained quiet during most of the battle, but now she spoke. Ben, your people could teach these tactics to our military forces. Princess, with respect, these tactics cannot simply be taught. They require a different way of thinking about problems. Then teach us to think differently. Emperor Thane looked thoughtful. You believe human military thinking could benefit the Empire? Ben considered carefully. Your Majesty, humans have never lost a war because we never accept that defeat is inevitable. We always look for alternatives that others cannot see. And you would share this knowledge? That would depend on what humanity gains in return. The Emperor smiled. For the first time, he was negotiating with someone who understood that alliance meant mutual benefit. What would your people want? He asked. Access to galactic technology. Trade agreements. Recognition as equals in the galactic community. Admiral Corks looked concerned. Your Majesty, the Galactic Council has expressed concerns about human expansion. The Galactic Council fears what they do not understand, Zara said firmly. Today proved that humans can be powerful allies. Ben nodded. Princess Zara is correct. Fear often comes from ignorance. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to learn what humans can offer as friends rather than worry about what we might do as enemies. Emperor Thane made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Admiral, prepare a message to the Galactic Council. Inform them that the Vorthak Empire is entering into formal alliance with humanity. As the Imperial fleet began its journey home, Zara found herself spending hours talking with Ben about human culture and military philosophy. She realized that saving her from the fortress had been the easy part. The real challenge would be convincing the galaxy that humans deserved a place among the stars. But after witnessing Ben's tactical genius firsthand, she believed it was a challenge worth accepting. Humanity had proven they could think beyond the impossible. Now it was time to prove they could build a future beyond imagination. 3 months after the battle against the rebel fleet, Princess Zara stood before the Galactic Council on their home world of Centralis. The Great Chamber held representatives from 47 different species. Their varied forms filled the curved seating areas that surrounded the central speaking platform. Emperor Thane sat in the Vorthak section, his ceremonial robes marking his status as one of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. Beside him, Ben wore the formal uniform of a human diplomatic advisor. The sight of a human in the Galactic Council chambers had caused quite a stir among the representatives. Honored members of the Council, Zara began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. I come before you today with a proposal that will benefit all our species. Chancellor Vec of the Altarian Confederation raised a tentacle in objection. Princess, your father's alliance with humanity concerns many of us. These beings are unpredictable and dangerous. Dangerous to our enemies, Zara replied firmly. The human military advisor helped our fleet defeat a rebel force twice our size. Their tactical knowledge saved thousands of Imperial lives. Minister Grau from the Satani Republic spoke next. His multiple eyes focused on Ben with obvious suspicion. We have heard reports of these human tactics. They rely on deception and misdirection. Such methods are dishonorable. Ben stood slowly. The chamber fell silent as all attention focused on him. Minister Grau, may I ask how your people first achieved spaceflight? The question seemed to confuse the Satani representative. Through centuries of scientific advancement, of course. And how did you overcome the challenges of faster-than-light travel? By finding creative solutions to seemingly impossible problems. Ben nodded. Humans apply that same creative thinking to military strategy. We find solutions when conventional wisdom says none exist. Ambassador Time of the Carillion States leaned forward in her seat. But your methods go against established military doctrine. They create chaos on the battlefield. With respect, Ambassador, Ben replied, established doctrine assumes that all species think the same way. Humans learn to think differently because our home world forced us to adapt or die. Zara stepped forward again. Which brings me to my proposal. I suggest we create a joint military academy where human tactical knowledge can be combined with alien technology and resources. The chamber erupted in excited conversation. Representatives spoke rapidly in dozens of languages. Chancellor Vec called for order by striking his ceremonial gong. Princess Zara, he said, you are suggesting that we allow humans to train our military personnel? I am suggesting that we learn from each other. Humans bring tactical innovation. We bring advanced technology and organizational structures. Together, we can create something more powerful than either could achieve alone. Minister Grau's eyes narrowed. And what prevents these humans from using this knowledge against us later? Emperor Thane rose from his seat. Minister, 3 months ago, my daughter was rescued by a single human soldier. My fleet was saved by human tactical advice. If humans wished to harm us, they would not need to learn our methods first. A new voice entered the debate. Admiral Sek of the Draknari hegemony was known as one of the galaxy's finest military minds. I have studied the reports from your battle against the rebels. The human strategies were indeed effective. But can they be taught to others? Ben addressed the admiral directly. Sir, human military thinking is based on adaptability and creative problem-solving. These skills can be learned, but they require a different approach to training. Explain, Admiral Sek commanded. Most military academies teach students to follow established procedures. Human training teaches students to think beyond those procedures when circumstances demand it. Zara sensed an opportunity. Admiral Sek, what if you could train officers who could defeat any enemy, regardless of technological advantages? The admiral's interest was clearly growing. Continue, Princess. Human tactical principles, combined with our advanced weapons and ships, would create the most effective military force the galaxy has ever seen. Ambassador Time spoke again. But who would control this academy? Who would ensure it serves peaceful purposes? The academy would be governed by a joint council, Zara explained. Representatives from multiple species would oversee its operations. No single government would control it. Ben added, the academy would focus on defensive strategies and peacekeeping operations. Its graduates would be trained to end conflicts quickly with minimal casualties. Chancellor Vec studied the proposal carefully. What evidence do we have that humans can actually teach these methods to other species? Emperor Thane smiled. Chancellor, my own military advisors have been working with Ben for 3 months. Perhaps Admiral Korks could demonstrate what they have learned. The Vorthak Admiral stood and activated a holographic display. It showed a tactical simulation of a space battle between evenly matched fleets. This simulation represents a standard engagement between equal forces, Admiral Quarks explained. Conventional tactics would predict a long battle with heavy casualties on both sides. The simulation played out exactly as predicted. Both fleets hammered each other for hours before one finally achieved victory with only a few ships remaining. Now, Admiral Quarks continued, here is the same engagement using principles learned from our human advisor. The second simulation showed dramatically different results. One fleet used misdirection and feints to confuse their enemies. They concentrated their attacks on key targets while avoiding direct confrontations. The battle ended quickly with minimal losses. The chamber fell silent as representatives absorbed what they had seen. Minister Grau was the first to speak. The difference is remarkable. But these tactics require precise coordination. How do you achieve such timing? Through training that emphasizes independent thinking within coordinated plans, Ben explained. Each ship captain learns to make decisions that support the overall strategy without requiring constant communication. Ambassador Time looked intrigued. This would reduce our dependence on command ships and communication networks. Exactly, Zara confirmed. Fleets trained in human methods would be less vulnerable to communication jamming or command structure attacks. Admiral Sek stood slowly. The Draknari were known for their military pride, and his opinion carried great weight in the council. I have seen enough, he announced. The Draknari hegemony supports this academy proposal. His endorsement caused another wave of discussion throughout the chamber. If the galaxy's premier military power accepted human methods, others would follow. Chancellor Vec called for order again. Very well. We will vote on Princess Zara's proposal. All in favor of establishing a joint human-alien military academy? One by one, species representatives raised their appendages, tentacles, or claws in support. Even some who had initially opposed the idea voted in favor after seeing the tactical demonstrations. When the count finished, 39 of 47 species had voted for the academy. The motion passes, Chancellor Vec announced. The Galactic Military Academy will be established under joint oversight. As representatives began filing out of the chamber, many approached Ben to ask questions about human military philosophy. Some who had feared humanity an hour earlier now seemed eager to learn from them. Zara watched the conversations with satisfaction. The academy had been approved, but more importantly, attitudes toward humanity were changing. Admiral Sek approached Ben directly. Human, I wish to know more about your tactical principles. Admiral, I would be honored to share what I know. Good. I will recommend several Draknari officers for your first class. As they discussed training methods, Emperor Thane joined his daughter. You have achieved something remarkable today, Zara. Ben achieved it, father. I simply helped others see the value of his people's knowledge. Ben finished his conversation with Admiral Sek and rejoined them. Your Majesty, Princess, I must send word to Earth immediately. My government will want to assign our best instructors to this academy. Where will the academy be located? Zara asked. Chancellor Vec overheard the question as he approached. The council has decided to build it on the neutral world of Haven. Construction will begin immediately. How long before the first classes can begin? Ben inquired. 6 months, if all goes according to plan. Zara felt excitement building inside her. 6 months to create something that could change the galaxy forever. As they left the council chambers, Ben spoke quietly to Zara. Princess, this academy will require strong leadership. Someone who understands both human and alien perspectives. Do you have someone in mind? Ben smiled. Someone who forgot her throne to save her people. Someone who sees possibilities where others see only problems. Zara realized he was talking about her. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. I have never run a military academy. But you understand what this academy represents. A chance to prove that different species can work together to create something better than any could achieve alone. Emperor Thane had been listening to their conversation. Zara, if you accept this position, you would be giving up your place in the succession. Father, ruling an empire is important. But creating a future where all species can defend themselves and live in peace is more important. 6 months later, Admiral Zara stood in the main hall of the Galactic Military Academy. Students from 23 different species filled the seats before her. Human instructors worked alongside alien professors to teach new generations of officers. The Academy's motto, inscribed in 47 languages above the main entrance, read, "When conventional wisdom fails, innovation succeeds." Ben served as the Academy's chief tactical instructor. His lessons on adaptive thinking and creative problem-solving had become the foundation of the curriculum. "Today, we begin advanced strategic planning," Zara announced to the assembled students. "You will learn that any obstacle can be overcome if you refuse to accept that it cannot be overcome." As she looked out at the eager faces before her, Zara remembered the moment when Ben had entered her cell in that rebel fortress. She had thought rescue was impossible. He had simply refused to accept that impossibility. Now they were teaching an entire galaxy to think the same way. The future would bring new challenges and new enemies. But with human creativity and alien technology working together, no problem would remain unsolvable for long. The galaxy had finally learned what humans had always known: the only impossible things are the ones you never attempt.